Okay, guys, this is episode 4 of the Philly podcast. I'm Tanja Morris, the founder of Sisters with the Agenda, the Culture Connection, and we are here with Boo. Go ahead, introduce yourself, let them know who you are and all the great things you got going on.
Well, I'm an artist, entrepreneur. Consider myself somewhat of a community activist just because I stay active in the community, trying to help out as much as possible. I'm born and raised in Philadelphia, uptown. And I'm just trying to do the best I can to leave my print on this world positively.
Nice. I'm Kaima Akbar. Y'all know me, your great real estate agent and founder and owner of Urban Queens.
Yes. So the Philly Culture Podcast is just like what he just said. We are creating culture here in the city of Philadelphia and spotlighting those that are doing some phenomenal things. We're talking about our upbringing, how our upbringing has birthed our hustle. And I'm so excited that we have had people from different parts of the city.
Right.
We have had Feltonville, North Philly, South Philly, and then Uptown, Germantown, where I'm from as well. We actually ran the streets together. So it's so exciting to see how we grew up and then what we're doing for our community now. So Ronald, talk about growing up in Germantown, Uptown. What was that experience like, and how did that kind of birth your hustle to get into the game?
Well, you do know because you're from there too. But it was gritty. It's funny because you can be on one side and it's gritty, and then you go to the other side and it's like 3-story houses, big yards, and front gates and everything. So, we had the opportunity to see the best of both worlds in a sense. We knew what we was aiming for and where we was coming from. And a lot of us stuck together in the streets, like kids running around playing tag, going outside and pumping gas together, or going to the market and bagging groceries together. So my hustle started at a real young age. Just being around the homies in the neighborhood and picking up things that they was doing, like, yo, let's do this, let's do that. So always stuck with, the Dogtown area and the people that we grew up with in that area, because it was so many of us, and it was like a lot of kids growing up at that time didn't always have both parents in the house, you know what I mean? So we was always just together. And, I started out playing basketball a lot, that was my thing. I was an athlete and just trying to do the best I can with the sports. And that just took me to different places. And now I'm focusing on creative art through music, videos, and the community events that I'm throwing.
I definitely like that concept because Germantown Ave is definitely that. One side of the street, you're going to get the hood. The other side of the street where I actually lived on was, you're going to get my mom always say we live in the slave quarters because you got the mansion. You got the mansion literally around the corner. So that concept of where you're trying to go and that vision of what you're trying to get out of. But also that hustle of just finding different ways to make it. That's definitely a Philly thing of working in the gas station.
When he said that, I was like, listen.
That
that's what the young boys
it's
do.
not safe enough for them to do it, but when I see a young boy out there, I keep my head on the swivel, but I still try to make sure I give, because you never know which one really needed. And I done rolled up a couple times and done seen my students at the gas station. So it's like, you never know what they really needed coming from where they come from. Like you said, some people coming from single family home. Talk about Germantown High School. Germantown High School is one of the high schools in the city of Philadelphia that's actually shut down right now. But the time when we was going to Germantown, it was definitely some pivotal.
It's a lot of culture.
I've heard so much about Germantown High School, being from North Philly, so definitely.
Yeah, so talk about your experience going to Germantown.
So I actually, before I got to Germantown, I went to school in Chestnut Hill. So that was completely opposite of Germantown High School. But I knew everybody from the neighborhood. Everybody went to the neighborhood schools and high school. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'm just going to school with the homies now. But it was a cultural shock for me. It was definitely a big change. Just coming in, going through the metal detector line, and the whole, the fire escape was like the club. You know what I'm saying? Everything went down in the fire escape. And I mean everything.
Everything, the fire escape.
Gambling, fights. We ain't gonna get too specific, but there was a lot of things going on in there, and it was just just to see so many different people from different neighborhoods and how neighborhoods stuck together. You know what I'm saying? And then that turned into the gang terms and things like that. And it was like, you know, because, you know, when I went to school there, I got into a lot of fights, and it was never because of me or, you know, any of the problems that I had with people, because I always got along with everybody. But walking home, you know, sometimes things go down. And, you know, these are the guys that I walk to school with and I walk home with. So we gonna get there and back together one way or another. And, you know, that taught me a lot about unity, you know what I'm saying? And really just falling on the sword for your bros at times. So, yeah, we did have, I think somebody actually hung themselves that year. In the auditorium. It was a lot of crazy things going on in that school.
We was on the news one time. Remember we came to school and they was all praying around our school? It's a huge riot that happened, and like, talk about unity in the community. It was like churches, messages, everybody like literally praying around our school, because at that point, like he was saying, the different neighborhoods, like neighborhood to neighborhood was just clashing because Germantown is very much a block type of situation, but all of these blocks went to this one school.
It's the neighborhood school.
And it was, like you said, it was never individual beef. It was just because you was from those.
You know, I had classes with, you know, two dudes that I would fight with frequently. And it was, again, we be in class and it'd be cool. We even talk in class. You know what I'm saying? But when that bell rings, it's like, yo, I'm with them, you with them, you know what it is. You know what I'm saying?
At least I got the learning part out the way first.
That was kind of actually thorough, like, you know, the fact that we still got work done, you know what I mean? That didn't stop us.
Yeah, I definitely was the girl from South Jersey, so it was definitely a culture shock for me. But I remember not, like, having respect for the blocks. Like, I didn't forget all that. Because, like, from a girl perspective or just in the hood, you couldn't go to their block. And I didn't understand it. So I would come around, they'd be like, you can't come around here. And I'm like, why can't I come around here? So I would call people out, like, y'all don't want me around here. Y'all taking me from around here. But then I got respect from every part of anybody that went to Germantown, you know, from Somerville to Dogtown to Nicetown to Brickyard. I was able to build relationships with different people because, like he said, in school we were cool. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it was like I didn't understand that part of the culture. So it was like
your thing.
Yeah, but it, you know, Haines Street.
Go back generations. That's why.
Really? Wow. I never knew that about Germantown. I'm really like I'm learning something right now. Wow.
And Haines Street, because that was where the school was.
When
I say mothers, fathers, kids, like I never seen, it looked like a Million Man March one day. They was trying to fight somebody. And like the whole neighborhood.
That was the first time I had to fight uncles and fathers and shit. It was,
at the same time?
Yeah,
I never
oh my God.
And it's like you gotta come out of the school.
Happening in the city?
And they school was on the block, so it's like they just come outside.
2004, we graduated in 2006, so around that time, and then a couple years after that, like I said, they shut down. Yeah, which is, you know, surprising because so many people, you know, we had a guest, our first guest, her mom went to Germantown. So, you know, it's so much legacy and culture just to see that building just sitting there.
Because it's idle.
The Thanksgiving games, the football games, like every Thanksgiving it was Germantown versus King. That probably went on for maybe 40, 50 years.
Now I remember that. I remember that when I was in high school.
And there wasn't fights there though.
Right.
That was,
I remember that because everybody used to come from all over the city, all different high schools or whatever.
That was definitely a big part of the culture. So, you know, knowing how we grew up, like literally it was like a fight every day. How did you pull yourself out to the point now being a community activist? How did that all like come about in your mindset?
Well, I think that it was always in me, just from, you know, my grandparents being a pivotal point in my upbringing. I watched my grandpa a lot, so he was kind of like a jack of all trades. You know, he drove limos, he worked at a cleaning company. He just had a lot of, he did crochet, he planted, you know what I mean? He would plant for other people on the block, sweep up the street, and I just grew up seeing him do all of these things. Like every morning he up at 6 cooking, you know, and I just seen that in him. So even as I'm learning how to become a man and going through the street process and everything like that, that was always upbringing.
Right,
So
that's
it was
your
always
home.
in me.
That was,
And once I realized that I had a deeper passion for music, because I always loved music and I always wrote raps, I just never really recorded or took it serious. But once I found that passion, actually I just recorded in my homie's basement. He was doing a song, and I'm like, let me get on that playing. He like, go ahead. So I got active with that, and I heard myself back, and I'm like, oh, I like this.
That confidence boost, right?
Yeah,
Nice.
and originally growing up, I didn't want to portray the raps that I was writing at that time, because it was all violence. It was all just street violent shit, you know what I'm saying? And I wanted to be able to speak on things that I live by, you know?
Right.
And just because I seen it and was around it, I don't want to brag about it, you know? So once I started to get into the music more, I realized that people were listening to me. I'm like, I gotta make sure I'm really giving them content.
Conscious of that, right?
Yeah, I started to think about what I'm rapping about, and that changed my writing patterns, and you know, everything changed with that. So now it's just like, I want to be able to, you know, one of my favorite quotes is from Tupac. Is like, you know, I might not change the world, but I'm a spark the brain of somebody that might. And I've always remembered him saying that, and I want to do the same thing, you know, because I don't feel as though I'm 35. I'm half of my life probably gone at this point. You know, they say we at the halfway mark, right? But
we at the halfway mark.
Who knows how far we got from here, you know? So I just want to make sure that I can, even if it's my kids, that take something from me and grow up and do something different. You know, just starting with living by what I say.
Yeah, integrity is definitely a big thing, and I think that's one thing like Philly does got. You know, if you one of the things when I started Sisters with Agenda, it was like really finding people in the community, especially the black males, that were paving ways for our youth and showing them something different, and it was built on that integrity. Like whatever moves we making, it's like, let me really show you what it's about. And I love that you're doing that with rap, because we can highlight all of the rappers that's mainstream, but if you really look into the people that's coming from the community, it's like, no, they really shifted the narrative.
They are, yes.
The song that you have on your website, and you in the middle, I think you downtown.
Oh yeah, that's
talk about that song.
Riding the Tiger. So that song was the first song I did in 2020. It was maybe like 2-3 months after the pandemic breakout. And I was frustrated. I was just, you know, stuck in my thoughts of what was going on with the world. And I've always had a third eye open for, you know, government foul play, you know what I'm saying, or any mistreatment that our culture has been received over the generations, from slavery to, you know, bombings in West Philly and all types of stuff, you know. So my heart is very keen to taking attention to those things, and at that time I was like, man, I want to speak on those things, like, because I feel like what's happening with the pandemic was created by some evil beings that wanted to do some things that could control and manipulate. And I was vocal about it in the record. And actually I was listening to beats, and I heard the beat, it came on and it had JFK in the intro of the beat talking about, you know, talking about our government, and you know, if they continue to act like this dictatorship, you know, trying to ride the back of the tiger on like a power trip, you know, eventually they're going to end up inside of the tiger. And I just, that caught my attention, so I looked up more into JFK and found out a lot more about him and what he stood for, and you know, what he wanted to do right before he got killed. And I was like, this is the perfect record to do it on. And you know, I just speculated my thoughts. You know, I can't say that it's all facts. It's my thoughts. It's how I felt. And that opened up a lot. It made people call me a conspiracy theorist, and made people look at me funny, and it made people come and talk to me, you know, and like, yo, why you talking like this, or whatever. And dialogue starts, and we get to understand each other, we learn from each other, and that's how it's supposed to be. We're not supposed to be silent, you know what I mean? We're supposed to have questions and talk about it, and even if our opinions is wrong, respectfully, we got to get them out and find the right answers. So that's what I was doing.
Sometimes it's good to just hear your thoughts and, you know, go over with somebody whether they agree with it or not anyway. So that's how we get the solutions.
That's what music is all about. You know, it's really about subjective and putting your ideas out there, and just a different type of art form. But I love our black men because they're so intelligent
Yeah,
and just that willingness.
So are our black women.
Yes, but our black men, I feel like
Yes.
it's just like when you think of like the civil rights movements and you think about the different activists that's in the city, it's like there's an understanding of history and bringing it to a now day where you can kind of speak to our youth from a different lens.
Right.
Like, you know, sometimes kids don't understand, some of them don't know who Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and all of those people is, really but you can still carry that message in the way that you doing it.
Right.
So talk about some of the community work and some of the community projects that you have done, because music has been a way of you bridging the gap in the community.
Definitely. Through music, I was able to do more than I ever imagined that I could do, you know, just like with my name or my platform. I think originally, you know, I just started off with just doing donations to the homeless. You know, a partner of mine, you know, King Mar from Two Sides Podcast, we had linked up quite a lot, and you know, got like care packages, we passed them out. We would give out clothes and sneakers, just starting off real small, what we could do and we could manage. Eventually, it got to where I started linking with Ryan Harris and started seeing some of the things that he was doing. And I would always say, hey, yo, bro, how can I get a part of that? How can I help? You know, what can I do to get involved? And he's always been a brother of open arms. And I had a community refrigerator for about 4 months on Germantown Ave, right? Not too far from the Army Navy, right, where we went to school at.
Okay.
So I had the community refrigerator out there.
It's still out there, right? No,
I had to give it up because I was renting the building, and I was renting a space, and I was paying for the electric so that it could stay active. And you know, things fell through, and you know, I had to leave the space. So a friend of mine, I said, yo, bro, I need your help. I got to take this refrigerator and donate it to somebody. It was a young lady out west. She needed a refrigerator, you know, and we took it. It didn't fit, so we had to break it down. And
take it apart.
Then we had to put it back together. And she's like, yo, I appreciate y'all, but at least that, and I was just glad that the refrigerator went to
somebody, that needed it,
nice. So we also started to do, after the refrigerator, I said, Ryan, yo, I want to throw a community concert. You know, I want to get a bunch of dope artists, let them use that platform to promote their talents, and I want to give back. Like, let's figure out a way to do like a backpack drive or something for school. And that moment, he said, yo, I got the perfect spot. And he took me for a ride. We went to see the venue at the Village, and I was like, yeah, this is it. And we did that last year.
What's that, 12th? Is that 12th and?
9th in Germantown.
9th in Germantown, North Philly.
The Village Community Arts. They got a real nice space down there. They're doing a lot of things for the community.
That's actually how we reconnected.
It's like on Germantown. Okay. Nice. I see people out there doing stuff all the time.
They have a lot of events. So Ryan plugged them in, and the three of us, we all connected and made this event. Where we gave out like over 300 backpacks. It was just so many people donating their talents, time.
Resources.
Sis was out there, and she had her table set up. The kids was out there. It was so many kids.
The performers.
That's what you want, right?
Yeah, we had barbers doing free haircuts. Nice. It was beautiful. So we did that 2021 we did that. And last year, 2022, we did it again. But we just didn't do the backpack thing. We just said, yo, it's a community event. We actually did a raffle with the Village. They had a bunch of furniture, music instruments, Mac computers, all types of valuable things that they raffled away to the people. And we did the concert, and it was dope.
Yeah, it was definitely dope to see the youth like perform,
come out
and not even just come out, but perform. Like to see them on their stage and to see them in their element, and it's just like to just provide space for them to shine. You know what I'm saying? Because it could have been, you know, our generation up there performing, but providing space for them to shine. Because like they were dope.
All of them.
Seeing these youth perform, it's just like little gems. And you know, we had the our last episode, we had the artists on there. There's so many youth that's into art. There's so many youth that's into rapping, and just being able to provide space. Shout out to Ryan Harris again. We are in Rec Philly, and he provided the space for us. And they actually just did the climax concert here
at Rec Philly, and a lot of the youth were performing. They used the studios here. So just finding different avenues, and him taking these artists out the city. I think they went to New York at one point. So, you know, just, and then like things that you're doing as well. Just, I remember I had a student, oh my goodness, like when I say driving to work, I had to like ride around the block to get him to come to school, but all he wanted to do was rap. So I told him, I'm like, look, go to school. I got some people that can really put you in the right places to do it, but you gotta come to school. You know what I'm saying? And that was the whole birth, like I said, behind Sisters with the Agenda. It's like, let me find these people, because every child needs something. But if we don't tend to their craft and to what they're interested in, you're going to lose them. You know, so having positive influence in the music game that's going to really encourage you and not like try to push you into the streets and those type of things is dope. Like Meek Mill, like he had people that's like, no, you're not going to go into the street, you're going to go into music. So I think it's just definitely dope that y'all were creating these spaces, especially coming out the pandemic, because for me the pandemic meant get activated.
It was an awakening.
Like how can you get activated? You know, so you making a song, and then you know, doing the community fridge. It was a couple of y'all that did the community fridge. Ryan did the book libraries,
street libraries,
street libraries, and just also the collaborations. Because again, we talk about that brotherly love, that unity, just, you know, being able to reach out to somebody and say, I want to get in the game, and people like really helping us pave the way, and you know, finding ways to like elevate, but still being able to elevate your own craft. So what are you working on now in 2023?
Well, at this point, I've been really trying to get business things lined up to where I can get funding to really step a little bit harder than I have been. My first community event is probably going to be sometime in March. I'm going to do some type of giveaway, give back. I have a whole bunch of merchandise that I've been sitting on, like summer stuff, and I really have a bunch of new stuff that I'm putting out. So I'm probably just gonna give a lot of clothes away, like brand new stuff, just giving it away to people. And from there, I'm also building up on the music. I got a lot of music that I want to put out, but like I said, I've been really content oriented about what I'm doing and how I'm putting it out. So be patient with me for anybody that's fans of my music. I'm just trying to make sure I give it to y'all so that it's received in the right way, you know. So I'm just staying focused, just staying working. And I did want to touch on something though. Y'all had said something about with your young boy in the school, making him go to school, and you said the incentive. I think that's something that we need to really start presenting to some of these young kids more often, because it could be something just as small as like, yo, a pizza party or something, you know, depending on the age range or whatever. But I remember I had got left back in the 6th grade because I was just playing around. I didn't care about homework. I didn't care about none of that. And I had a friend's mom come to me, and she was like, you know, he was staying at my house, and she came to pick him up, and she was talking to me about school. And she was like, well, why don't you focus and pay attention on school? We went through this conversation. So she's like, well, what if I told you that if you get this many A's on your report card, that I'll give you this amount of dollars, whatever. And I'm like, you would do that? And she was like, yeah. And, you know, I'm not saying that I didn't have help, you know, that was all my failure, all on me, you know, but for her to tell me that, yo, I will help you if you do what's right. It made me understand, like, it's easy to do wrong, but when you do right, there's value in it, and there's morals that you live by that you can be proud of. So, yeah, that incentive thing, and just telling kids, you know, that's one other thing that I'm trying to do. That's why I brought it back up. I'm trying to get me and T. Marie, we're working on a mentoring program for young artists, whether they rap or sing or poet, whatever. We're just working on a little mentor program that hopefully by the summertime we have fully locked in. But we want to partner up with Ryan and do something like that too. So.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I love that the schools are opening that space up. Is like schools are moving now to post-secondary. So like trying to feed into people's craft. But I just feel like, you know, that incentive part is extremely important, because it's just like, we not coming to work without getting incentive, you know? And it also shifts their mindset, you know, like you said, just that conversation of somebody seeing you and be like, okay, I can be rewarded for these things. Like I said, our young black men and our young black boys are not successful in high school and school because they don't have that thing that keeps their interest. Like a lot of parents I have conversations with, I'm like, your son is extremely smart, but you gotta tend to their craft. We can tend to their crafts, and like that's my whole point. Is like, okay, if I know you doing it, I'm gonna be like, yeah, mom, I got this program for.
Right.
But it's up to them to push them into that program.
Right. To
because
support them and get them in it.
They want to do it. Like I remember when I was at Grants, our disciplinary in-school suspension room was in the culinary arts suite. The kids' minds was blown because they wanted to cook.
Right.
I'm talking about young black boys straight out of Badland. They wanted
Right.
to cook. You know what I mean? Like, y'all got all of this because the stuff was still there from when the school shut it down. You know, and that's the sad part about it. Like, you know, it takes the community. That's why this is all about taking back the village, because it takes us to be able to say, all right, we want to save our kids. How we going to save our kids? So that's why we need as many people that have different talents and stuff to be able to say, okay, we got these platforms, we got these spaces for these kids, or just for the community in general, because, you know, it might be a parent that needs something for them to get activated,
Right.
to understand it.
Important.
You know, you got people behind you that's going to, you know, help you and support you. So we didn't get into what does FAIR mean, because you talk about the clothing line and, you know, sharing out your shirts. What is the acronym actually for FAIR? Because I think it's dope.
FAIR is an acronym for Face Everything and Rise. That's something that I just thought of, and I just lived by it ever since. That's the label, that's the brand for the merch, and then this is one of my most popular designs. It's FAIR versus Love. The love is actually also an acronym for Life Offers Valuable Experiences. And that's kind of my album genre. I have FAIR versus Love 1 and 2. When I try to just do, you know, hip hop, rap, a little bit of R&B, just to combine both vibes. But this has been, you know, very successful, and I'm excited to see what else comes out from this merch.
Yeah, definitely. You gotta share that piece, because Face Everything and Rise, I think that mindset right there.
Yeah, I like that.
That acronym, like, you know, if people know what it is and know what it's about, definitely can shift a lot of narrative. It's those little things, you know, Philly, we like it short and sweet sometimes.
Right.
So it's those little things that just remind us to just keep getting activated, keep getting motivated.
Keep going, never
and
give
then,
up, all that.
And then, like I said, going through what we going through, you know, because it was scary at times, you know, going home, and you never know. Like, I remember one of our friends getting his head kicked into this steps, like concrete steps. And I remember, like, it was scary. Like, you know, every day it was like you had to face something. But to see you rise, like, when I saw your website, I was sitting there talking to my mom. I'm like, look at this young boys that grew up and taking back the community. But, you know, it's important. It's necessary. It's important. And there are so many of us out here in the community that's getting activated.
It's a lot of us. It's a lot of us.
Really
it's so empowering to see. Like,
yes.
You know, we feel alone in this journey because we doing things that most people don't want to do or don't have the time to do. You know, but there's a lot of us, so make sure y'all just stick to y'all grind and keep going.
And the collaborations are 100% necessary.
Yeah.
So let them know how they can find your music, how they can get in contact with you if they want to collaborate on any of your projects, and anything else you want to let them know before we go.
Yeah, definitely. Collaborations is always welcomed. It's always, you know, a shared experience. That's what music is about. So anybody that want to link, you can email me at fairup247@gmail.com. My Instagram handle is fair_vu, VOUS. My website's fairvu.com. And just tap in with me. My music is out everywhere, VOU$. I had to put the $ in to get away from all of the other French artists that's going by the same name. So, but yeah, we here, you know. And I'm actually dropping a couple throwaways next week, you know, just some old stuff that I like that other people like. So I'm gonna let y'all have it.
Yes, well, thank you all for tuning into episode 4 of the Philly Culture Podcast. Again, if you would like to be a guest, make sure you hit us up. There's always space for everybody to get amplified, for everybody to know what's happening in the city of Philadelphia. That's our goal, is to put on. So have a great night, everybody, and make sure you tune into episode 5.